Okay, so how well do you actually understand basic algebra? Well, if you have pretty strong basic algebra skills, well, then you should be able to solve this equation here without the aid of a calculator. But if you want to use a calculator, that's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at the problem. We have 2m divided by 3, or 2m over 3 minus 2 is equal to 3, and we want to solve this equation for m. All right, now this is a multiple choice question, and let's go to take a look at our answer. So m is equal to 9, or m is equal, well, a is 9, or m is equal to b, 7.5, m is equal to c, 10.5, or m is equal to d, 1/3. All right, now if you can figure this out, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll share the correct answer in just 1 second, then of course I'll walk through exactly how to solve this problem step by step. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need help learning math, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so one more time, let's take a look at this equation. And we're trying to determine what m is equal to, right? So again, we're going to solve this equation, and you can use a calculator. I would encourage you not to use a calculator, but if you want to use one, again, that's perfectly fine. And the correct answer is one of these choices here. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the right answer. The correct answer is B, 7.5. All right, now, if you got this right, you definitely get a happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and a certificate of excellence because you appear to be a certified professional expert in the area of solving a two-step, one variable linear equation. Okay, that's very impressive. Matter of fact, you may want to tell your friends and family that you're able to do that. They'll be so impressed. They'll be like, I have no idea what a one variable two-step linear equation is, but it sounds pretty cool. Congratulations, I'm going back to my Netflix. But all seriousness, if you got this right, that's very good. And if you didn't, no big deal. I'm going to teach you exactly how to solve this problem right now. All right, now here is this equation. Okay, we need to kind of get some basic concepts down about what an equation is in algebra, but no one should have gotten this problem wrong if you have the most basic understanding of an equation. Now, some of you might be saying, hey, what are you talking about, Mr. YouTube Math Man? I got this wrong. I was totally lost. Well, let me show you how when there is a multiple choice question involving an equation, you should never get these problems wrong. All right, so here is what you could do. Now, what a variable is right here, it represents a number, okay? Now, whatever number that we can plug in or we can replace this m with, okay, which of course is one of these numbers right over here, that makes this left side equal to the right side. So we have the left side, it's equal to the right side. So for example, let's take this equation. X is equal to 3. Okay, now let's suppose this was a multiple choice question and our choices were x is equal to 1, or maybe x is equal to 2, or c, x is equal to 3, or d, x is equal to 4. Now, what is the right answer? Well, clearly it is C, right? Because when we replace this x with a 3, we have 3 is equal to 3. That is a true statement. So that is by definition what a solution to an equation is. It's basically the value such that we replace a variable or variables, any number, and it can actually be more than one value depending on the type of equation. But effectively, we're looking for the number such that we would plug it in and replace this m, and we do the math over here, it's going to be the same as this number, which of course is 3. Now you could test these numbers, right? You can go, all right, let me just check 9 here. If m is equal to 9, what's going to happen over here? Well, I'm going to have 2 times 9 over 3. All right, so that's what this is going to be. So 3 goes into 9, 3. So 3 times 2 is what? That's 6, right? Or 18 divided by 3 is 6. So all of this is equal to 6. And 6 minus 2 is what? That's 4. So this is what the left-hand side is equal to. Now, is 4 equal to 3? I mean, that is the right-hand side. No, that is a false statement. So therefore, you can disregard 9 being the solution to this equation, and you can just go through the process for all these values, and you would discover that indeed B is the right answer. Okay, so for those of you that still have to take math exams and tests, and you come across a multiple choice question and it involves an equation, you should absolutely never get these problems wrong. But in math, we have all different types of equations. I'm talking about algebra. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and just quickly tell you the type of equations that you will learn if you are studying algebra. So the most basic type of equations is what we're dealing with here, called linear equations. All right. Now, I'm not going to give you a full algebra course here. I just want to give you a sense that if you want to learn how to solve algebra equations, there's all different types of algebra equations. Okay, so we have linear equations, we have quadratic equations, we have radical equations, we have rational equations, we have exponential equations, systems of equations. You get the idea. And each one of these type of equations, and there's much, much more, have their own concepts, methods, procedures, etc., etc. But you have to master the basic equations, which are what we call linear equations. So that's what we're going to do right now in this particular problem is we're going to do a quick review on how to solve basic one variable linear equations. So here's the problem. We have 2m over 3 minus 2 is equal to 3. Now before I get started, let's review some other basic concepts about equations. Okay, so effectively what we have here is like a balance scale. Okay, and the equal sign is like the fulcrum. Okay, so for those of you that used to play with on teeter-totters or seesaws. I'm not sure what they're called in different parts of the country or world, but they were so much fun. I don't even think they exist in playgrounds anymore. Boy, it was a lot of fun going to school in the 70s because early 70s because you could just like go to the playground and just do all kinds of crazy stuff, and there was no no restrictions on getting hurt. But basically, you have a balance going on, right? So here is the center, and if these two people weigh the same, the seesaw or teeter-totter is going to be like this. It's a scale. It's a balance scale. So when you see an equal sign in algebra, effectively, you can just think of, if you want to think of this as weight, that's perfectly fine. But the left-hand side weighs as much as the right-hand side. So if we have a scale in perfect balance, something like this. Now, for those of you that might know some physics and whatnot, I'm not going to go there, but let's suppose we have 5 pounds that's perfectly the same distance away from the fulcrum of some sort of scale, right? So if it's 5 pounds on the left-hand side, 5 pounds on the right-hand side, this scale is going to be nice in balance. But if we add a 1 on this side of the scale, what happens? Well, it's out of kilter, it's out of balance, okay? But we can fix that. Now, how could I fix that? Well, I could remove the 1, or I can add a 1 over here, okay? So if I add a 1 over here and I have add a 1 over here, the scale's still in balance. So this goes to algebra, okay? It's kind of like what I call the golden rule of algebra, and that is whatever we do to one side of an equation, as long as you do it to the other side, you're okay. So in other words, if I want to add 7 on this side of the equation, I can add 7 on this side of the equation and not break the equation, okay? But if you only do something to one side of the equation, that's like just kind of adding, something to one side. You always got to keep an equation in balance, okay? This is a really important concept. But let's go ahead and get into how to solve basic linear equations. And this particular equation requires 2 steps. But it's not going to do any good to try to take on this equation unless you can solve a one-step equation. And let's quickly review that right now. All right, so here we have another kind of extenuating circumstance for some of you out there that might be confused in this equation, and that is this fraction. I'll talk more about this here in a second. So let's simplify this down. Let's get rid of the fraction, and we'll just have 2m minus 2 is equal to 3. All right, so this equation, again, requires 2 steps. The fraction is kind of something that again, I'll address here in a second, but this could be confusing to some of you. But before, again, we learn how to solve a 2-step equation, we want to review how to solve 1-step equations. So here are 4 examples of 1-step equations. I'm going to solve these really, really quick. But take a look at these equations and make sure you can solve these, right? Because if you can't solve these equations, each of these equations requires just one step to solve. Okay, this equation here requires two steps, but you have to master one step linear equations. All right, so we have 2m is equal to 6, m plus 1 is equal to 9, m minus 7 is equal to 3, and m over 3 is equal to 4. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly solve these equations right now. And this is basically a review for some of you out there. They'll be like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, the last time I saw algebra is when disco was popular. No big deal. Hopefully some of this stuff comes back to you right now. All right, so 2m is equal to 6. How do you solve an equation like that? So 2m is equal to 6. What it means to solve an equation, any equation, is to get the variable on one side of the equation, m, not a 2m, m by itself. And this m really has a 1 in front of it. So it's like 1m or m. Okay, so that's the goal here. And what we want is a number on the other side of the equation. That is the solution. Okay, and hopefully if we did all the math right, it would be the correct solution. So that is the goal. All right, so how can we get m by itself? So 2 times m. This right here means 2 times n. M is equal to 6. So to get m by itself, or get to have a 1m here, all I have to do is divide by this number. Okay, so this is 2m. If I divide this side of the equation by this number, 2 divided by 2 is 1m. Okay, so that's exactly what I want. But remember, if I divide the equation by 2 on the left-hand side, I also have to divide it on the right-hand side. That's that golden rule of algebra. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. M is equal to 3. That is the solution for this basic one-step equation. All right, so M is equal to 3. All right, now how about this one right here? So m plus 1 is equal to 9. All right, so m is some number, right? So these are just numbers. This is like saying 2 times some number is equal to 6. So if I just, even if you didn't know algebra, like, hey, I'm multiplying 2 by some number and the answer is 6, you could just see that the answer is 3. So m plus 1 is equal to 9 is what? Well, some number plus 1 is 9. So hopefully you're like, well, the answer's got to be 8. Indeed it is, but let's use algebra here, right? So remember, we want to get m by itself on the left-hand side, and we want to get one number on the right-hand side. So how can we get m by itself? Well, I have m plus 1. Well, how about we just subtract a 1 away, because m plus 1 minus 1 will just give us this m by itself. But if you do this on the left-hand side, you can do this on the right-hand side. So 9 minus 1 is 8. M is equal to 8. All right, so hopefully this is starting to make sense. And let's go ahead and pick up the pace here. We'll do m minus 7 is equal to 3. So we want to get m by itself. So how do we do that? Well, let's add a 7 to this side of the equation and add a 7 to this side of the equation right there. And if I misspeak any of these numbers, I am going pretty quick. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying, or if I forgot what I just said. But anyways, hopefully I'm saying everything right. But you can see the numbers as I'm working them out. So m minus 7 is equal to 3. Again, we're solving for m. So, all right, so we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equation. So m is equal to 3 plus 7, which is 10. All right, and this one makes sense because if I replace this m with a 10, 10 minus 7 is 3. 3 is equal to 3. All right, so hopefully you're getting an idea and like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I appear to be a certified professional expert in one-step linear equations. That is fantastic. All right, so we took care of these 3 examples. Now I saved the best for last. All right, so this is a one-step equation right here. So we have m over 3 is equal to 4. And by the way, there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of not covering in these concepts, but hopefully everyone out there is understanding this. So this m over 3, okay, there's really a 1 in front of this m. So this is really 1m over 3. There's different ways you can write this, okay, algebraically. So you could think of this as 1m over 3, or you could think of this as 1/3 m is equal to 4, or 1m over 3 is equal to 4. So if you prefer to see this as a fraction, 1/3 m is equal to 4, that's perfectly fine. So matter of fact, I'm going to show you this right now, that it's often beneficial to see the problem this way. So m over 3 is equal to 4, or 1/3 m is equal to 4. All right, so remember the goal is to get m by itself and just one number over here. Now, it's a little bit easier to see this with the 1/3 m is equal to 4. So what can I do to this 1/3 to get it to be 1? Well, all you need to do is to flip whatever fraction is in front of the variable. So in this case, it's 1/3. Flip it upside down, so that's going to be 3 over 1. Because 3 over 1, or 3 times 1/3, is 1. Okay, so if I multiply the left-hand side by 3, or 3 over 1, I have to multiply the right-hand side. So 4 times 3, of course, is 12. All right, now there's another way we can kind of look at this equation as well. This is what we call a proportion in algebra, and you can use something called the cross product, i.e. cross multiply. So 1 times m is m, and 3 times 4 is 12. Now this is a quick review, really, for those of you that are, truly wanting to learn and review comprehensively all this material. Then you need to kind of check out some additional information beyond this. But hopefully this was a good review for those of you that learned algebra. You're like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, it's all coming back to me. Okay, so now that we have one-step equations down, if you understand this, well then solving two-step equations is actually not too difficult. So what we want to do here when we're solving two-step equations is to kind of isolate these terms, okay? Like 2m. We want to isolate this and have this equal to one number. So if you have like a subtraction or an addition situation coupled with a term like this, what we want to do first is to get rid of anything next to a variable term and put it on the other side. So in kind of a general sense, you want all your variable terms, and this would be a variable term, on the left, and all your numbers on the right. So here we have a number on the left. We want to move that number over here. Okay, then we'll have all of our variable terms like so. And then we're going to turn this into a one-step equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this right now. So how do we just get 2m by itself on the left-hand side? Well, we have 2m minus 2 is equal to 3. So we're just going to add 2 to this minus 2. So we have 2m minus 2. If we add 2 to it, minus 2 plus 2 is 0. Okay. But remember, if I add 2 to the left-hand side of the equation, I have to add 2 to the right-hand side. And you want to write this in this format like so. Okay, this is the correct way to do it. And then you're going to add down in a column format. So it's going to be 2m plus nothing is 2m. We don't have to write it right there because negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, so there's nothing to write, so we can scoot that 2m over, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, so right here we have a lovely one-step equation, and hopefully from the previous examples you can say, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, to solve for m, all I have to do is divide both sides of the equation by 2. So we get m is equal to 5 over 2. All right, so that is the correct solution. And hopefully now you're like, yes, I'm confident I can actually solve the original equation. And for those of you that actually were able to solve it, maybe you got a little bit lucky, or maybe you didn't write out each step. I'll tell you something right now. In algebra, you must write out each step. Okay, it's really important. And even if you're able to get the right answer, and you're kind of doing it without not showing all your work or being sloppy, you're creating bad habits, right? So make sure, take your time and show each step nice and neatly. All right, so let's go ahead and take the next step, which of course is having you quickly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't you love the way how I just kind of sneak that in? Well, I sneak that in because I need your help. Okay, I'm not afraid to ask for help, and you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help either, right? So if you're struggling in math, the worst thing you can do is say, I'm not smart in math, I'm bad at math. That's absolutely not true. Okay, now some of you might be saying, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, you don't even know who I am. You're, on the other side of this video. Well, I'm just telling you from decades of experience. I would say a good 90% of the people who struggle in math because of their mindset. Okay, they're constantly thinking, "I'm not smart enough." Deep down inside, they may not be verbalizing it, but inside, they either have a lot of anxiety or fear about trying to learn math. And you have to get over that. Okay, the only way to do that is to get help. and get yourself a great teacher, okay? But it does require work and effort and time, okay? To learn math, it definitely does. So if you're looking for shortcuts, you're going to continue to struggle. But if you need help, okay, in algebra or anything else like that, check out my full main math courses. You can find links to those in the description of this video. And what we're talking about in this particular video, basic linear equations, you can check out one of these courses right here, my pre-algebra course or my math skills rebuilder course for those of you that want to relearn math to include basic math, algebra, geometry, etc. Check out this course. But some of you may be in algebra, basic algebra like pre-algebra or algebra 1. All those courses you'll find in the description of this video. All right, so let's get back to this problem. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell as well so you can get my latest videos. Remember, I need your help to grow this channel so I can really help as many people as possible. All right, so now that we understand one-step equations, what a solution is, the kind of the golden rule of algebra, whatever you do to one side of equation, you have to do to the other side. We understand something about fractions in front of a variable. By the way, a number like 2m, the number in front of a variable, okay, this is called the coefficient. All right, this is called a coefficient, and this entire thing right here is called a term. It's important that you kind of build your math vocabulary up as well. But we did talk about fractional coefficients and things like that. Okay, so 2m over 3 minus 2 is equal to 3. So we want to get this term on the left-hand side, and we want to get all of our numbers on the right-hand side, right? So that's what we want to do. So we need to get this negative 2 over here. So our first move is going to be, we're going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. All right, so when we do that, we're going to have 2m over 3 plus nothing is 2m over 3. And negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 3 plus 2 is 5. And so now we're down to a one-step equation. All right, so let's go and solve that right now. So we have 2m over 3 is equal to 5. This is the same thing as 2/3 m. 2/3 m is the same thing as 2m over 3. But either way, what you can do is just look at this as a fraction coefficient and flip it upside down. That's called the reciprocal, because 3 times 2 is going to be 6, and 2 times 3 is going to be 6. 6 over 6 is going to be 1, or 1m. Okay, so what we need to do is to, figure out what we have to, do to this 2m over 3 to make it into a 1m. Well, what we need to do is multiply a 3/2 by the 2/3 m. Okay. All right, so that's what we have to do, but if we do it to the left-hand side, we have to also do it to the right-hand side. So when we do this fraction multiplication, we get 1m or m, and then over here, we're going to get 5 times 3, which of course is 15. Remember, you can make any number look like a fraction by putting it over 1. So 1 times 2 is 2, so 15/2. And 15/2 is not in the multiple choice. It's not an answer option. But hopefully you're like, yeah, let's see, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. That is the answer option. And remember, in the beginning of this video, I said you could use your calculator. And even if you didn't know how to do this problem and you're like, I'm not even going to do the problem, but I will check this work real quick, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay, so I covered a lot of ground here because anyone who didn't get this right probably could stand a quick review. Hopefully you're looking like this right now, like, oh boy, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I learned so much. Well, that is the idea behind my videos. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your math adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.